the DDLS Don't Get Hacked This Holiday Season, Learn How to Defend Your Networks webinar, which is also our final one for the year. So how's that? I'm Rebecca Newland, Marketing Executive at DDLS, and I will be your host for today's webinar. So before we actually get started, keep in mind that there will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. However, I do encourage you to enter your questions in the comments panel throughout the presentation, and there will also be a short survey before you leave. Today with us also is Sam Vollmer, who is going to be looking after our question and answer panel. So please pop your questions in there. Our presenter today is Sean Lim, EC Council's COO. So Sean has actually been in the IT training and education industry for over 2 decades now, managing large-scale development of cybersecurity training globally. Managing EC Council's network of over 700 partners across 100 countries, Sean travels widely and speaks at information security events, and also professionals that can do in managing their security. So without further ado, what I'll do now is hand you over to Sean. Okay, Sean, the presentation should be coming over to you now. Hello, Sean, you're there.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Sean.
Okay, thank you very much, Rebecca and Sam, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and how are you? I'm sure we are all getting excited now that the holiday season is almost upon us. I would like to welcome all of you to our presentation today. Unfortunately, we will not be talking a lot about the food, the fun, the shopping, the holidays that are almost upon us, but rather about how enterprises and professionals especially prepare their networks and security systems to protect their networks, not just during the holiday season, but also throughout the year. Let's hope that the center that you see on the screen now, right, does not look anyone or anything like the one that you see on the screen. That creepy look certainly promises tons of trouble for companies during this holiday season. My presentation today will cover the increasing dependence that enterprises and people in general have on the networks and the internet, and how these are increasingly breached and compromised, and how network administrators can and should skill up in order to become valuable cyber network defenders that are very much in demand by employers today. So let me move to my next slide. I'll take a slight pause between every slide just to ensure that there is no lag between us, because I'm dialing in from Singapore. Okay, so let's dive into our topic today by first looking into the pervasiveness of the information flow today. Guys, just look at the amount of traffic that is transmitted across the internet every minute of the day. Now, just imagine how our daily lives are being served by the use of the internet, driven obviously through our home or our corporate networks. The internet and the network actually powers the flow of this information globally across millions of devices, including those of our office computers, our home computers, our smartphones, tablets, right, smart devices such as our webcams, the printers or baby monitors, right, so on and so forth. Without a network providing the connectivity that is required to power these devices, well, many of these devices will simply not have a function anymore, right? Simply because these devices require the connectivity in order to work and to serve their purposes. Now, imagine that when these networks that support this breaks down, it can create tons of issues. Now, these issues can range from very simple interferences and nuisance to our daily routines, or it can lead to very disastrous outcomes for organizations with millions of dollars lost. Let me move to my third slide. Just so that you understand how important networks are to businesses, I will give you two examples today. Let's have a look at how businesses such as Amazon, or China's version of the Amazon called the Alibaba, derive their sales, which is almost exclusively driven through the use of the internet and their corporate networks. For example, how many transactions does Amazon handle per day averagely? Their systems can handle up to 3 million transactions a day. At a peak, their systems can handle even above 500 transactions a second, every second for the day. Now, imagine that vast amount of network traffic generated to manage not just these sales transactions, but the inventory management behind this, right? The shipping that is involved, the packaging, right? The invoicing, the customer services, so on and so forth, right? When that network breaks down, right, all hell will be unleashed, right? So more and more enterprises today obviously rely on these networks to do their businesses. And as we know, when these networks are crippled, these organizations such as Amazon experience not just financial losses, but also a loss in the trustworthiness of their brand. Now, in a later slide, I will show you an example where buyers actually shun certain providers because of their insecure networks and insecure systems. Now, not just Amazon, Alibaba's system handles easily 4 times that traffic. That's 12 million transactions per day, right? That is 3 million for Amazon, 12 million for Alibaba per day, every day, right? That's because, websites don't go down. They're supposed to work 365 days a year. And on Cyber Monday, Amazon's system spiked to handle like 37 million transactions a day. And Alibaba, they have an event called the Single Day event. And in that event, that single day event, their network actually captured 278 million sales transactions. So you multiply that, like I say, across inventory management, invoicing, shipping, packaging, because everything is automated. Everything is driven by the ERP system that sits on top of the IT network. You can just imagine how powerful, right, networks are today and how critical these are to our businesses. Now, not just large companies like this, any company for that matter. And I will give you some examples of some small and medium-sized enterprises and how these are also affected when their networks are crippled. Let me go to my next slide. In this particular slide, we see a report by a threat intelligence provider, right, called Cyterjig, right, which basically shows how cybercrime tends to spike during holiday season, like now, right, simply because this is when more money will flow through the internet because of the shopping season, where Christmas and New Year offers abound in our emails, some obviously with dubious links, and this is where most consumers are likely to let their guards down. Why? Because they are attracted by these once-in-a-lifetime offers to make this the best Christmas or the best New Year ever, right? We get tons of these emails from Groupon, from Qoo10, and from all these shopping sites, right, offering tons of Christmas offers. And well, some of these users that are sitting on our networks, for the sake that they don't know better, right, they get themselves into trouble, and as a result of their lack of awareness or lack of consciousness about what they are doing online, they can, right, invite trouble to our corporate networks as well. Let me go to my next slide. So let's look at the next section, where I want to bring you through some case studies where real companies are affected by network attacks. What are some of these kinds of network attacks? And I can tell you, even as you look at these network attacks, they are not complex to run, right? In fact, today, anyone with a computer can run such attacks that cripple networks of other companies, and that makes it all the more dangerous, right? Understanding these attacks, right, coupled with taking some active steps, which I will cover in my later sections of the presentation, it will help to prevent the same from happening to you and to your company. And it can help you decide how you can defend your networks going ahead. Let's look at this, for example, right? These are just reports that abound in the InfoSec world, right? This is a piece of news that came out in the 21st of October, right? So this is very recent, and it cites that 75% of organizations lack cybersecurity expertise, right? 3/4 of organizations lack cybersecurity experts, resulting in more breaches, right? So I'd like to replace the word cybersecurity expert with a cybersecurity practitioner, right? Someone whose role within an organization is to look at the security of the IT platforms, the IT systems, the network, the applications, to ensure that these are working in tandem, right, with our business. Simply because you lack these practitioners, right, you are therefore exposed, and therefore you are one of these, 75% of companies that will face, a network breach or an incident sooner or later, right? It's not a question of if, right? Like those of us from the cybersecurity world, we understand that it's always a question of when. In this next slide, I would like to share with you some of the more common attack vectors that affect our network, right? Some of them directly, some of them rather indirectly. I'm sure that many of you on the call today will have come across the term phishing, right? This is a very common attack and a very simple attack, right? If you were to come to any of the EC Council's certified courses, we will teach you how to do, a phishing attack, right? And you can basically activate a phishing attack in as short a period of time as 3 minutes. Now, why do we want to do that? Because we believe that if you want to manage security, you have to learn what hackers are doing today. You've got to do what they are doing. You've got to be as creative as them. You have to have the same technology as them in order to match up with them. The problem is the world is a little bit, it's not level, right? The attackers are very consistently growing their skills. They learn new things every day. That's because they're really, really motivated, right, to take down, more networks, more companies, or make more money, or make their brand and their presence felt. Whereas corporations tend to look at this from a budgetary point of view. Do we have the money to do this? Would we like to invest in one of our engineers managing this? So because of this, unlevel playing field, therefore, we see the incidences spiking. So phishing is basically an attack vector where an attacker steals credentials using fake websites. For example, Amazon has tons of fake websites. So anyone who wants to shop during this holiday season sees an offer from Amazon, clicks in, buys something, they might not realize that it's not even the Amazon website. And by clicking onto a fake website, right, their sensitive credentials like their Visa, their card numbers, their security codes, right, maybe their social security number, their email passwords, are stolen. So what network defenders can do is they can learn to connect with the system administrators to teach them how to configure their email servers. Now, this is if your company obviously uses an in-house email server, right? We will show you how you need to link this to some what we call blacklists, right? Blacklists are often published by cybersecurity providers. For example, if you use Akamai, or for example, you may use Fortinet, or you use FireEye, right? They will have their own blacklist. So if you configure your system or your email servers against these blacklists, right, your network will understand as these traffic or as these mails arrive that they are automatically excluded, right? These are automatically sent either to the junk folder, right, or avoided completely to prevent opportunities for your people to basically click on one of these links unknowingly. Now today, phishing is such a big attack that it makes so much money that everyone is doing it, and there are reports out there that shows you that as Christmas comes nearer, especially this report, right? As Christmas comes nearer, in each of these reports, as you can see, I've created a link there. So post the webinar, you can actually click on some of these links and go and read up on some of these. And you can see that especially during holiday seasons where there are tons of shopping, tons of e-commerce activities going on, right? Activities like phishing will spike, and more people and more companies will lose money as a result of these, okay? Now let's look at my next example. So phishing is one. Now this is again another example that has got a lot of IT people talking about, and this is ransomware. So we have heard about ransomware, and then you are now going to hear about what we call full network ransomware, right? Originally, the ransomware was basically a malware that an attacker will send to your system, right? When you activate that malware basically encrypts and locks up your system. When that happens, you cannot use your computer, you cannot do your work, and they hold you hostage, right? And they will tell you to pay a certain amount of money, either through Bitcoin, through PayPal or whatever, before they release you so that you can use your system again. So obviously there are tons of webinars out there that tells you what to do when you get hit by a ransomware, but I can tell you the reality is that when you do get hit, you will panic, right? Because you will understand that your life is not the same anymore. You have that difficult choice of paying and moving on, with the likelihood that when the attacker gets hungry again, he'll come back for a second time and he'll say, pay me again, right? Or you can not pay and you can go to some information security service provider and say, please help me. And they'll quote you an insane amount of money, and then they'll give you a disclaimer like, hey, we can only try our best, right? We might or might not be able to recover everything, and it might take time. So if I'm going to take 2 or 3 days, and I can't promise you it's 2 or 3 days, right? That's where the trouble starts, because how can your entire department or your entire company sit around not doing anything? You cannot do your invoicing, you cannot do your payments, you can't do your customer servicing, you cannot do your sales, right? You cannot do your shipping simply because all your information is locked up. And how are you going to answer your customers when they call and say, hey, what's happening? I mean, do you really want to tell them that, I'm sorry, you know, if you're a victim of a ransomware attack, you've just got to stand by. Hopefully that we can do something about this, right? We will fulfill your requirements as soon as possible. You don't want to do that. So what does a full network ransomware do, right? This basically attacks your entire network, right? The FBI is working, right, in the US actively, right, sending information to all organizations to be aware, right, of such ransomware like the SAMAS or the KZ, as you can see here, right? These basically attack JBoss applications on your network. It locks up not just your computers, it locks up your servers, your routers, everything. It is so smart that it not only locks up your network, it is also able to look for your backups, so that it deletes your backup, so that when you want to release the ransomware and hopefully use your backup, you know, to become operational again, your backups are no longer working or they are no longer there. And it can also look for other applications or other resources that typically, right, professionals will use to recover from these attacks. They will also look for those resources on your network and remove these as well, therefore complicating your recovery. So these are the kind of attacks that are becoming more and more pervasive on your networks today. You should learn more about them, how they work. You should learn how to prevent this, how to monitor these as they might happen, and should they happen, how do you escalate these incidences and how do you manage them, right? This is something that cyber secure network defenders do, right? As you can see from this last line, this is what we call to enable network defense activity, right? You're defending your network against such attacks. Let's look at another example, guys, right? This is an example that I'm sure that many of you would have heard of if you are in the IT world, and this is an attack on a managed DNS provider called Dyn, right, from the US, right? This particular attack used a malware called the Mirai network. Mirai malware that attacked the networks or the DNS servers of Dyn. Now, Dyn is basically a managed DNS provider, which means if you are a company and you have all your email addresses, right, they manage those addresses for you. Now, when they get hacked, you can imagine that across the world, hundreds, if not thousands, of Dyn's clients are affected, which means their systems go down as well. And this attack is very interesting and scary going forward, because this is a time where the Mirai malware actually activate botnets that used to sit on computers, right, that are activated as part of a botnet to attack a network. But in this case, this particular malware activated what we call the Internet of Things devices, or the IoT devices, as you can see here. It activated more than 100,000 infected Internet of Things devices, such as your home CCTVs or your home webcams or your home printers or your office printers. Now, these devices are typically not very well secured. We tend to secure our computers and our networks, but Internet of Things, for example, your home network. Today in my home, right, the air conditioning systems, the light bulbs are controlled by a system, right? I'll not share it with you because then I don't want to be, part of this attack in future. But it can be controlled via my smartphone, right? When do I want to switch it on? When I'm not home, when do I want to switch it off, right? How much lighting do I want or not want, right? These does not offer me a lot of options to secure them. And this offers computing power that is used by the attackers to send traffic, right, all this unnecessary traffic, to players like Dyn or your offices or your networks, flooding it with all this traffic so that your server cannot handle the traffic, breaks down, and there you go, right, you're part of that particular attack. Now, that obviously, right, this obviously is a big case study, and you can read more about this on this particular link. Now, this is, as you can see on my next slide, you will see that I'm giving an example of what I mean by, networks that are interconnected. As a result of the Dyn attack, even the Singapore telco, right, close to home for me, is not avoided, right? The telco is called StarHub, and the DDoS attack for Dyn basically meant that, this telco was not available for the majority of the users for almost a couple of days. And because of that, there were tons of issues with customer complaints. They actually had to provide free internet use to compensate customers who were not happy. Now, this is not just people like you and me, where we can't get our emails or we can't play our online games. You're talking about companies that are reliant on their systems. And because when these systems goes down, those companies are basically not working for those last couple of days. You can imagine the unhappiness and the losses that are suffered by these companies indirectly because of their vendor or their supplier or contractor called, right, StarHub, right, which was attacked simply because their managed DNS server provider called Dyn was attacked in the US. So you can see how interconnected all these attacks are. Now, next, even more scary, you can see attack vectors like this, right, where DDoS attack, or what we call distributed denial of service, right? They deny your computer from giving its service by flooding it with so much traffic that it just fails, right? So these DDoS attack vectors are becoming more complex, while at the same time offering so much simplicity to the attackers themselves, right? Look at how, how even attackers today are looking for good service. Right? It is scary to see that in this example, the Black Nurse malware basically allows one computer to take down an entire network. Right? It does now not take hundreds of thousands of devices, which is usually what happens in a DDoS attack. Right? To take down your server, it takes basically one or two computers to take down an entire network. Now, this is certainly something for us to think about, because if you manage a network and you're not trained to manage a network in terms of security, right, you have not therefore learned how to manage IoT DDoS attacks like Dyn, which I shared with you earlier, using all the Internet of Things devices, let alone how to manage attacks that comes from these lone computers. Now, this opens up a whole new world, and I want you to imagine this. Today, go to the internet, right? Go to Google. You can basically say, paid DDoS service. Do you know that there are members of the underground community that basically offers such services to you? You can pay today according to some rate card that they offer. Like, for example, you can pay $5 if you want to do a DDoS attack on a given target, right, for 4 hours. Or if you want, because it's Christmas, they are giving you an offer today. Take down someone's computer, take down someone's server, take down a company server for a whole 24 hours and only pay $25, and that's a 50% discount because it's Christmas. Now, this takes business rivalry, this takes business competition, or personal differences, or national level types of attack to a whole new level, right? Can you imagine? We used to, in business competition, we used to do smarter marketing. We used to pay tons of, online marketing activities and advertisements. Today, you can pay perhaps 5% of that and simply hire someone online anonymously to just take down your competition just by paying $25 US, right? These, like I say, offers a lot of frustration to companies because, we have dealt with clients in this part of the world where their networks are being attacked every day. They recover it today, and it goes down again tomorrow because then they have attack coming from another target, and then they recover it, and then next week they get taken down again, obviously because there's business rivalry and someone, right, is just persistently attacking the system in a very cheap way by using some of these malware. Now, obviously, many of you would have heard of Target, right? Target is a retailer in the United States, and they are huge, right? And they got hacked pretty big time a couple of years back, and this was in 2014. And in that particular hack, Target lost basically about 40 million credit cards. Their insurers had to pay like $100 million worth of damage, right, to the consumers, simply because many of the credit card information was stolen and were used to buy stolen, therefore used to buy goods, right, against their own intent, and the insurers had to pay out like $100 million. They suffered losses perpetually, and I think Target basically had to pay like $40 million, right, to the banks and the credit card companies to settle some of these legal lawsuits. They were even sued by some of the states in the United States because, obviously, of some compliance requirements, right? And this basically meant that Target had tons of business disruption, right? And in that year that they got hacked, they saw a 46% decrease in profits as compared to a year ago, right? This is a real financial fallout from something as simple as a network attack. And look at the title. What did it say? It said it happened because, I would say partly, not completely, of a basic network segmentation error. So this means that when you attend a particular program like EC Council's CND, as you see at the top of the logo here, the Certified Network Defender program, we cover topics like what is network segmentation. Now, this attack happened because Target did not smartly manage their segmentation, right? They allowed some of their vendors, in this case, it was one of their air conditioning vendor, right, access into the network when they are doing work, managing targets, hundreds of stores across the US. They allowed their vendor access to the network. But the problem was they didn't segment. So what the air conditioning vendor could see within the network, they could easily jump to other segments that manages the Visa cards or the Visa accounts of the customers, the 40 million customers, so on and so forth. So when this particular aircon vendor got hacked, right, obviously the attackers were able to use the credential from the vendor, the aircon vendor, to go into, right, Target's network to steal the 40 million credentials. And of course, if you read some of the reports, you'll understand that those attacks don't happen across seconds or minutes. It takes days to download 40 million records. And that's how long the attack took, right? And of course, Target did not notice the attack early enough. And even as they noticed the attack, because they were not really well trained, so they did not really do proper incident management, right? Post the Target attack, EC Council was one of the companies that were contracted by Target to provide all the necessary training to the IT departments to ensure, right, they have the necessary skills to perform something as basic as a network segmentation, all the way to more complicated methods to secure a network system. So what happens during a breach, right? Like I said, as you've seen, not just the financial loss, you get a reputational damage. Like I say, I mean, unfortunately, many of the companies that we deal with, including EC Council ourselves, we have also been victims of cyber attacks, and it does impact our reputation because obviously clients will say, oh my God, I mean, you're a bank, you're supposed to secure my accounts, and today I realized that, you know, my statements were made public. How could that happen? I think I better bring my business to another bank. Now that is something that, you know, stuff like brand, you build up over the tens of years, you know, and it can get damaged across hours, if not days, just because of one or two incidences. That's severe loss of productivity, right? Because when it happens, you can imagine that many people are not going to work. Many people don't know what's happening. They are wasting time, you know, speculating what's happening. You know, senior management eyes are off the ball because, you know, if you have not experienced it before, I'll share with you as we see how some of our clients deal with it. It is pretty scary when you walk into a situation room where you see a company still dealing with an attacker that is still attacking the network, and the network is already down, right? And you're trying to recover, right? And then you get calls from your customers who are asking you what's happening. You are not sure, right? What statements are you going to issue? And then the press gets a hold of it, and then the press will start calling. And then your Marcom departments get involved, and they are asking you what's happening, what should we say, what should we not say. And then your board of directors get in and start asking you what's wrong, what's happening. I want an answer now. Tell me what has been breached. Tell me what are we doing. Tell me how fast can we recover. It adds to the entire confusion of the situation. Right now, that's before the FBI or the government calls. Now, if you are a critical industry, they do that, and they would participate, and they would want to see that you're doing all that you can to mitigate that particular situation because, you know, the public or the people at large are being affected as well. That leads to a whole big loss of productivity. And of course, it has severe impact on your morale and on the trust of your employees. Right, that's because when this happens, right, they are usually the last to understand what's happening. They are frustrated because they are at the front facing all the anger from the customers, the suppliers, you know, and they don't know what to do. And even as you recover, you know, they just, you know, lost that kind of feeling that their companies were that strong or, you know, that well defended. And now they realize the truth is that, you know, it is not, and they just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So there are tons of things that I want to tell you guys who, you know, have not been breached before. Congratulations. Or do not know you've been breached before. I don't know whether should I congratulate you, but, you know, I want you to imagine that these are some of the things that you will face sooner or later, and I pray that you don't. Right? So there is a joke within the InfoSec community. Basically, you have situation where, you know, the IT people start to ask for budgets for security. And what does the company offer? They want to offer as little as possible, right? They don't want to spend. They say there's no money. You know, they don't really have the time nor the money to, you know, to implement security in your companies. And then when you get breached, they offer you everything, right? Take as much as you want to stop this thing from happening, right? Do what it takes, right, to recover from the situation and never let it happen again. How much do you want, right? So it is sometimes scary to think that companies only take action when they have been breached, right? This is all very unnecessary. When that happens, according to many studies, you pay up to 7 times more than you would have needed to pay if you did what was right at the beginning. Okay, so let me go to my next slide. As I promised, I want to show you an example of the lack of trust affecting how people look at your brand. Right, in a study, right, 24% of Americans actually stopped buying online because of these breaches. Right, 56% of them said, I will cut back on the number of online purchases or on the internet sites that I tend to go to, and these are the large, well-known companies that they thought were safe. Right, so if that, right, this is another one of the security antivirus companies say, right, basically it is surprising to see that, well, people are prepared to pull the plug on their spending habits with some of these companies. I mean, if I have been, if I've incurred loss by dealing with a company because they were breached and I was breached and I felt that, I was not well taken care of, I will just look for a better alternative. Okay. Now, so we have seen the case studies of some of these companies getting hit, right? Some of the impacts of getting hit. So what are these kind of attacks? Now, I won't spend too much time here, but I'll tell you in general that with every passing year, the threats that faces the computer networks are becoming more technically sophisticated. They are getting better organized, and they are getting harder to detect. While at the same time, right, the consequences of failing to block this have also increased. Now, this is where I tell you that you've got to start thinking like this, right? So attackers have nothing else to do because their main business is to attack. But we are going into our work every day, right, doing our work, and we don't think of defending all the time, right? We tend to defend when we think we are under attack. So when days are good, we'll just get by, and do what we take. Now, this is leading to where the attackers are becoming super strong, and the defenders are just lagging behind. Now, you can see this as an example in the United States, where lately the Department of Defense or the military has launched a program called HackerOne, where they are today inviting hackers, right, to come online, come onto the program called HackerOne to hack the military system, right, tell them where the weaknesses are, and then make money. Right, this is because they realize that attackers are doing a far greater job than the people that they have internally. Because those guys, I mean, how do you improve when you are only responding to a challenge, right? But whereas attackers are constantly innovating new ways of attacking. So you too, within your companies, can start to think like, if an attacker has a motivation to attack 24/7, endlessly, right? Are we endlessly looking into defending our systems? If you're not, I can guarantee you, right, in the art of war, the attacker will always have the upper hand over the defender. Okay, so the defender will need to match up. So what's the problem? Now, in security, we say that visibility is everything. You need to know what's happening on your network. So have a look at this diagram that graphically shows you how depicts how a network may look like. Now, this is complex, right? This has got literally hundreds of nodes and hundreds of sub-servers, right, subdomains all over the place, right, some of these in different countries, right, across different geographic planes, all over. The problem is that the networks are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So obviously bigger means more devices, harder to manage. And then you have multiple technology solutions. No one company will buy, everything from one supplier. You will get some of your network devices from Cisco, your servers are powered by IBM, your workstations are HP's workstation, and then you will use a SonicWall firewall. You try to use a checkpoint, antivirus system, and the combination of all this technology is giving headache to our administrators and our network engineers. Okay, we need to understand that. And of course, there are complex rules that are therefore set up for us to analyze. Many of the people that work within network environment, are often not very well trained, and we have seen people that even sit within a NOC or a SOC center, or you call a network operating center or a security operating center, that are just bored sitting there analyzing traffic every second of the day. They are feeling bored. They are thinking they want to be the real deal. This is a low-paying job. There are tons of people that are coming from all these economies just prepared to accept a low salary to look at all this traffic. They're not very interested, to drive a lot of these. So therefore, people start to use a lot of automated algorithms to do this, and these are adding the complexity to the problem. And of course, every day there are changes and more changes. Changes to the business requirement, changes to the business process, leading to your IT process having to change in tandem with the business requirements. And then you add all that to the biggest problem of all, the people, right? They rely more and more. I would say the users rely more and more on the people that are on the call today, right? We, the IT guys, they think that we owe it to them to ensure that everything just works, right? They just add water formula and everything's supposed to work. And they can do everything and anything they want, and we are supposed to secure it all. It doesn't work that way. So every day we read reports coming out from CIOs that says that, the biggest problem we think, are that people are stupid, right? They are so stupid that, they don't understand that, there's so much dangers online, and they download stuff, and they do all kinds of funny things online that brings all the problems to our corporate networks. And we are thinking like, is this new? Does this even surprise you? I mean, this has been the conversation for the last 20 years. So obviously addressing the people, issues, and challenge is core to what EC Council does, right? So as you can see here, we've prepared for you a list of some of the most common causes of compromised networks, right? And some of these are so simple, right? You will laugh at it as consultants bring you through some of these. For example, right? You have security policies, you lack physical security, you don't patch your workstations or your servers often enough, you cannot handle passwords, from all your thousands of users, so on and so forth. But I can tell you that the key focus are the unskilled professionals that worst of all think they know what they're doing, but they don't, or the users whose general attitude is, I don't care, someone else is managing my security. These causes everything else that you can see above this to happen. I'll give you an example, right? Let's start with something very simple like security policy, right? You come from a large company. Now ask yourself, who came up with the security policy? Who? How long ago was this security policy created? When was it last updated? Or worse, how do you ensure that all your employees who are, asked to sign on the security policy when they join your company, how do you know they even understand what they're signing for? And do you even audit them? So in one of the conversations that we had with a super huge company, right? This company has got probably 200,000 staff. And we were talking to one of the chief information security officer that basically manages one particular business unit with about 23,000 staff. And we asked him, how do you audit 23,000 people to ensure that they adhere to your security policy? And all he could do was laugh, and we all laughed at the same time because we know the answer is going to be the same. We don't, right? We get it signed because compliance requires us to get it signed, right? We do it because the HR regulations are that we have to do it. Whether they understand or they don't, well, when something happens, we take it out and we take this against them. But that's not the ultimate aim here, is it? Right? The ultimate aim, obviously, is to ensure that the security policy becomes part of your security posture. So take this, right? Create a 50-question type of questionnaire based on your security policy. Give it to all your staff, right? Let them take that particular, so to speak, exam and look at the results. You'll be surprised that sometimes a huge percentage of them will fail those exams. Now, that basically proves to you that your people do not know what they are supposed to do, or even if they know what they're supposed to do, they don't have the skills to do it, right? They don't understand how to do it. And these will lead to networks and systems getting compromised again and again and again. Now, that is why we say at EC Council, right, do not take on a, equipment-based mentality, right? Which means, don't worry, we'll buy more antivirus, we'll buy more firewalls, we'll buy more, threat management systems, we'll buy more, unified threat management systems. When the engineers don't know how to, set these up, don't know how to work with all the different vendors in tandem, doesn't train the users, right? It doesn't work like that, right? You need to train your people first and foremost. Now, have a look at this network, right, as a network diagram, and you can see I've just shared with you some of these common attacks on your network that will go through your network, right? Like a SQL injection, a denial of service attack that we talked about, DINE earlier on, cross-site scripting, or attack on your domain name systems or DNS, right? How to do malware attacks, session hijacking, cookie poisoning, right? Not so much a buffer overflow these days, right? Session fixation, right? How to brute force passwords, so on and so forth, right? All these are common attacks that network administrators will need to understand. Now, that's the difference when you come for a, so to speak, a CND, a vendor-neutral kind of training, as opposed to a vendor-specific training. In the vendor-specific training, the vendor that sells you the equipment will tell you about the best way to configure, the best way to set up, the best way to monitor, but it does not necessarily teach you, right, what these attacks are, how these attacks work, and what are the signatures of the attack, and therefore how do you basically then manage those attacks. We do, right? EC Council does. And then you go into, so how do you remediate the problems that we just talked about, right? You guys know McKinsey, right? This is one of his famous quotes, right? Network defense is important to businesses of all sizes. Whether you are 50 people in an organization, when your network goes down, 50 people cannot work. Experience it firsthand, you know what I mean, right? So again, we look at within networking that if you want to secure a network, you do not just take, like I say, random activities. You've got to come and get an education so that you understand that the approach has got to be one that is based off best practices. For example, in this case, looking at your network security from a defense in-depth approach, right? So you look at the 7 layers, the program or the course that we teach will tell you how the policies, the procedures, and the awareness training must be there. What is covered internally? What is important in these, right? And then going into the physical layer, right? How to ensure that the physical security is managed, right? And then going into managing some of your perimeter devices like your servers, your DNS, your emails, your routers, and then going deeper into your internal networks, and then looking at your host, looking at the applications that run on the network, on your servers, and then ensuring that ultimately the goal, and that is your data, stays safe, right? You've got to manage all these 7 layers to achieve defense in depth to basically say we have a pretty robust security in place, right? Now, you don't have to jump from no security to 100% security in a day. No one has that time, that skill, or that budget to do it. But if you do this in a planned fashion, you do this over time, that's when you get more and more and more secure. Now, does it mean that if you have this, you'll never get hacked? That's never the equation. As we all know, all we want is to be more secure than the next guy, because the attacker will tend to look at the guy who is more insecure, that offers him the least resistance. So if I'm pinging you on your network and I start to realize, wow, this guy has got quite a lot of defense in place, it's going to take me hours, if not days, if not weeks to get something out of you. Compared to the next guy that I ping that I can get in within minutes, I'll go after that guy, because at the end of the day, right, quick money, right? That's the majority of how attackers work. Unless you're faced with a very persistent attacker, which is usually a state-sponsored player, they are going after more than money, right? They are going after national defense, right? And that's a whole new different ballgame altogether, right? So Michael Brown, who is the CEO of Symantec, basically says that in a report by Cisco, right, which was about 2 years ago, where, you know, the Cisco's chairman said that, you know, the world is immediately short of 1 million, you know, cybersecurity experts. He said, forget that 1 million cybersecurity experts. Look at our own IT and network administrators, right? Look at that level. There are millions upon millions of them today who are managing the network, and they are not trained. So forget about talking about experts, right? These guys who are working in our companies every day, they are not trained. We should be looking at them, right? And in this light, this is how we prepared that program called CND, because we realized that coupled with, so you look at the first impact, right? The rising demand for network security skills, right? Because there are more and more breaches of our networks, companies are therefore looking today not just for the standard network administrator who can do the installation, configuration, they want to look for a secure network administrator who can secure their network, optimize their network, as well as manage the operations of the network. Now, so the demand for this is rising, and obviously this is important because you want network administrators that don't just spend time on managing the network traffic, the performance of your network, right? You want someone who can protect the network, which takes a certain set of skills, detect problems, which is a different set of skills, and learning how to respond to the problems as to mitigate it, and yet there's a different skill set altogether, right? So it's not just about managing all the hacks, right? It's also about learning, like I say, the policy level, learning about how to manage the entire network in terms of all the security stuff, right? That is the important thing today that companies are looking for. So in the next couple of slides, I will just summarize by saying that on the left side of the slide, on the column, you will see that these are the typical roles that network administrators will play, right? Like, for example, they will install and support local area networks or wide area networks, so on and so forth. They will install and maintain the hardware and the software. They'll set up the user accounts, the permission, the password, so on and so forth, right? Look at the network security administrator, right? His job is not to do that. His job is to identify what threats are there today on the network and tomorrow, right? They will try to think about what are the kind of physical security controls they must put in place. They must look about what are the policies they must put in place. So not just having a network policy, but security policy, right? And you can see from the next slide as well, we've delineated it so you can actually see, right, rather than you do just the common roles on the left, you do the enhanced security role on the right. Now, we have done if you can look at this, there are 3 slides here. What we have done is we created a checklist for network defenders as opposed to network administrators. What you can do post the session is to do a self-assessment, right? Take this checklist. Imagine that on the right side, you have a rating system, 1 for very weak to almost non-existent, to maybe a ranking of 5 for, well, averagely, I think we are somewhere there, to 10, where we are the industry leader. We set the pace as to how we do stuff in this particular domain. And then you rank each of these. In our company, me as the network guy, do I design and implement network security policies? Or was it that when I joined, there was already one and I was just told to sign it, and I imagine that all the other guys sign it as well. They don't know what they're doing. Am I the guy? Can I troubleshoot my network for network problems? Can I identify threats? Can I tell my boss, here are the 10 potential network threats today on our network, and I can learn to identify them? Can you? On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rank? You can do all this because these guys are extracted from the job descriptions, from the job profiles, from the job blueprint of some of the best network defenders from around the world. They are all captured on these 3 slides, and these are the outlines that form the basis of how EC Council created the CND program, right? So the program is created by looking at what the industry is demanding in terms of network skills or network security skills, and then working backwards to ensure that all these learning are built into the program, okay? So you can go through this list because it is quite long, and you will learn that these are all things that are being shared in the EC Council Certified Network Defender program, right? So you can see that across 14 modules, right? It teaches you about the computer network and the defense fundamentals. It touches on what are the security threats, what are the vulnerabilities, what are the types of attacks. And then it teaches you how to perform security controls, set up the protocols, how to manage the devices, physical security, host security. Now, again, out of these 14 modules, this is mapped to the checklist that I talked about in terms of the job roles, mapped to the 7 layers of defense in depth that I talked about, right? So you will be going through those 7 layers as well as the entire checklist that I've shared with you in the EC Council's CND program, right? You will learn how to mitigate against some of these attacks, right? I won't cover them in detail, right? They are in the slide. You can have a look at this after, right? And why is this program for you? I can tell you that because it is vendor neutral, right? It doesn't kind of like bias towards one particular technology or platform. It talks about the semantics rather than the syntax, right? It's not because you learn a particular tool that teaches you how to manage it. You have to learn the science behind it. So whatever tool you are faced with, you understand the principles, the concepts, the best practices, right? What you have to focus on, so that when you touch on a tool, learning the tool itself is easy. And of course, it's got to have hands-on, right? Over 50% of the program is hands-on. It is instructor-led, right? So that it ends up with you earning a certification, right? It covers, as I've said earlier, the specific skill set on how to protect the network, how to detect issues on the network as early as possible, and how to mitigate or how to remediate, how to respond to some of these security challenges, right? The course does not just teach you on the operations of a network, right, using the defense in-depth objectives, but focuses a lot on the security technologies as well, okay? Now, these are some of the testimonials from some of the clients that we have. Again, like I said, it was meant as a slideshow, so you're supposed to see it one by one, but just to avoid lag in our system, we have just put it out here for you in a static form, but you can see many of these are from the Singapore Police Force, the Ministry of Foreign, I can't really see Ministry of Foreign whatever, right? This is from KPMG, Booz Allen Hamilton, who is a huge defense contractor, right? These are from all the IT specialists of all the large, and for example, this guy, right, he's from the DISA, right, or the Defense Information Systems Agency of the United States military, and basically saying that what they have learned from the CND helps them do a better job managing the security of their network. And like I said, because it is all centered around people and their skills, when you have people with the right skills, right, these are the people that will help your company understand better, right, how security works, what's required, what's not, how to engage the rest of the entire workforce to be part of the security chain and not, as a individual. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for being patient with me as I run through my slides. I hope you understand what I just delivered, and if not, it's a perfect time for you and I to go through a Q&A now. So over to you, Sam.
Thank you so much for that, Sean. We do actually have a few questions from our audience today. So what we'll do now is I'll just go through them. So the first question actually comes from Harry, and he stated, so as stated by you, Sean, the threats constantly shifts and evolves. How is this reflected or updated in the EC Council certifications and courses?
Great question, Harry. Obviously, security is one that is evolving fastest, right? And EC Council CND, in that sense, is the latest to market for a program of its type. If you look at this program, it was launched only in September of 2016, which means this program is contains content which is like 3 months old. So that's very, very current. And what's best is that when you do engage into an EC Council program, right, you don't just learn what you learn in the classroom, right? You are given a cyber lab, which is basically a lab that allows you to practice the skills that we teach for 6 months, right, on your own, from home, from work, right, in a secure environment on the cloud. You can run all your labs and continue to practice. And by becoming an EC Council member, you continue to be, a member of the security community, where we have members portal where you continue to connect with people, right, with the same interests, talk about some of this latest technology, and continue to learn along with the we do not basically advise students or members or corporations that learning is a one-off event, right? They will continue to learn. So all these programs basically have CPEs built in, or continuing professional credits built in that requires a student to continue to update themselves post the course. Every 15 months to 18 months maximum, right? These programs will be updated. And by update, let me explain to you. Many of the things that are covered in the course today firstly touches on the fundamentals of network security. Now, this does not shift. Like for example, using the defense in depth approach, it doesn't shift a lot. What really shifts a lot is the types of tools that are coming out. Now, when you become certified and when you become, so to speak, trained in the art of cyber defense, even as the tools mutate and newer versions come, right, you will discover that you are able to catch on to these on your own because you've already got the fundamentals. Okay?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sean. So, Harry, I hope that answers your question. We've got another one coming in from Pat. So, Pat asks, how many people is EC Council certifying in C&D?
Okay, we launched the program in the middle of September, and in that 1 month leading up to the launch itself, we have certified no less than about 400 to 500 professionals across the world, and these numbers will exponentially increase. In fact, within the first 30 days of the launch, we certified 300 of them, and all these are from organizations such as the one that I showed you earlier, right? So let me just try and go back here, right? These are the guys, so you can connect with them on LinkedIn or whatever and get their testimonials.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sean. Pat, I hope that answers your question. And we've got a last question from Tom. Now, Tom asks, if I want to get my staff trained, what skills or experience do they need before attending the training?
Okay, good. So I would say that naturally, if you want to train your guys, so your current network administrators, typically in the market, you know, some of the most common certifications would be, for example, the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer or the MCSE programs. Those that come from CompTIA, they might have a Security Plus. Those that come from Cisco, they have a CCNA. Right, these programs will be of immense help to them, which means they already are basic networking professionals, right? They are already handling your network. They have some knowledge of that. That is the knowledge that's required to catch on to this program. So obviously, you don't come in when you have no network experience because then you'll be lost. But as long as you have a CCNA, you've got an MCSE, you've got a Security Plus, or an A+ even, right? This will give you the necessary prerequisites to enter this program.
Thank you, Sean. So that's all of our questions for today. So thank you, Sean, for a very informative session.